Thank you, Joshua, for hosting us today. And good morning, good evening to everybody. Ramadan Mubarak, as Joshua mentioned earlier. It's good to be here and good to catch up with Joshua and the team again on a sort of different platform. If you go next, please. Today, just to give you a briefing, the e-commerce sector in the region has still sort of a very potential growth over the past few years. Obviously, the pandemic played a major role. What have we wanted to show today, and we have actually launched our latest report on this, easy to buy on Euromonitor, on the e-commerce in the region. You can see here the size of the market. Now, it's pretty much dominated by three countries out there: Israel, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, and they all still have a very healthy growth. This is our prediction, sort of from now to 2026. We're still seeing the country, these three countries who are dominating. They're all about sort of 10% and above. Now, one of the areas that's quite, there are various areas that are driving this sort of growth. Obviously, there's a huge tech investment that's boosting the e-commerce. The environment has been nourishing. I will shed some light on that later on in my slides, where fintech companies are thriving on more and more sort of creative payment. And then there's as I mentioned, there's a variety of payment methods that are there. Digital awareness. The region has one of the highest internet penetration. People are well connected in this part of the world. When we looked at the online purchase trend, there are various sectors. So it's predominantly still dominated by consumer electronics, apparel, footwear. These are the sort of the drivers, and this is not different than the sort of the world trend, where you have them as sort of the dominating factor. Now, obviously, you're seeing some good growth in the food sector in the region, and medical product. These are sort of the areas. Home care, surprisingly, is one of the fastest growing here, and we're predicting that that's going to continue to grow, have a sort of a very fast growing. Now, again, it's basically digital payments are becoming. We are a region that has always been sort of a cash on delivery was a dominant. Now we see more and more digital, creative digitals, where you buy now, pay later. The different startups that have coming up. A lot of digital app focus are coming in the region. The region, because of the young population we're seeing here, we're seeing quite a large number of different apps to cater to, of course, the online groceries and the rising tech initiatives. And of course, a lot of the retailers are trying to follow the direct-to-consumer model for their reach out to their client aspect. Now, we want to look at a very high glance of numbers. I think numbers speak for themselves. Today, the market for e-commerce in the MENA region is roughly about $37 billion US dollars. Now, that is the penetration is quite low compared to the rest of the world, where some of them are sort of the double digits in terms of 13, 14, some 19%. So the region is still fairly young aspect of it. But the growth in the last sort of 2018 to 2022 has been great. We had 32% growth on that. But coming forward to 2026, the expectation is for this market to reach about 57 billion US dollars. And of course, the penetration of the e-commerce is going to be roughly about 8.3%. Now, the growth might not be as such as we've witnessed 2008 to 2022, but it's still a fairly healthy growth, where 11% where we're looking at. Now, it's thanks to a lot of the mobile internet that the region is investing quite a lot into 5G technology, and the coverage of internet penetration has been great. And later on, I'll discuss how many initiatives are happening in the region. Now, the region has its challenges. I mean, we have this fragmentation of the trade boundaries. So there's geopolitical tensions. I mean, obviously, we're witnessing today the rise of interest rate, and the inflation is quite high. So these factors are affecting us. The region is very much connected to the global here. But what has been a great thing here is business migration. UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all these cities have sort of become an opportunity for business to migrate. And of course, there's a great capital and trade flow that is happening. Today, just to give you a figure on the HNWIs, the high net worth wealthy individuals, they migrated also with the migration. And there is a reasons why they migrated. In UAE alone, we witnessed somewhere about 4,000 high net worth wealthy individuals moved in the country in the last year. And so that just shows the region is ready to receive. And similarly on the talent, a lot of talent people are moving in here. Now there is again the geopolitical, the trade environment is a and sourcing resilience. We've seen a lot of disruption in the supply chain during COVID, but the region was very much sort of resilient towards that. They managed to ensure and secure a lot, and the risk factor has been sort of put into the sort of the chemistry of how the country was run. And the governments have always been initiatives in creating a very innovative solution. I was mentioning earlier about how the region is transforming on digitalization. These are some of the initiatives. If you look at it, UAE has a digital government strategy 2025, Qatar 2021, 2026, Saudi Arabia is 2030, Tunisia, Egypt, and the list goes on and on. It's coming down. I mean, we want to know why UAE, why Dubai in particular. So that's as we mentioned. Now, I think a lot of countries associate us as a sort of an oil-producing nation. Today, if you look at our GDP, non-oil sector contributes about 71%. Coming out of the COVID, we are becoming a sort of a number one on a sort of global destination for starting a new business. These just shows the people how confident, how the government in UAE were very responsive in sort of dealing with the pandemic. Our growth on the GDP has been quite good, and the objective is to get this one to sort of a 7%. Our credit rating has been great, and of course, if you look at one of the main things that UAE was ranked number one as a pandemic resilient country in the world. That's because the country had a focus, they had a strategy to go for it. If you look at the sort of Dubai, again, number one, and when it comes to global talent city where we are competing, location. I think whenever you talk about retail, you want to talk about retail, they always tell you location. We can get to sort of 2/3 of the world's population there. I mean, I think today we can call India became the world's most populated country, and there are 2 to 3 hours you can reach anywhere in India as a sort of a flight. 189 destinations with 84 carriers, and the list is going. Recently, we had United now is going to be working closely with Emirates. D33 is a sort of the Dubai Economic Agenda 2033. That's where we put a new target for ourselves. So this aspect covered trade, it covered the sort of our connectivity, it's covering how we attract foreign investments. These numbers are just showing how we jump. Some of these, if you look at our, we're looking at doubling sort of our goods and services contribution. We're looking at the sort of connecting to 400 cities to be at. That includes a lot of the African, Asia, Europe, and even into South America. And then the future of where we're creating these corridors between Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. One of the interesting things that our Ministry of Economy, or sort of at the Dubai, is we are signing right now a cooperation agreement. We recently signed with the first one was with India. We did Indonesia, Israel, and Turkey, and the government has a sort of initiative to sign 27 in the next 5 years. Now this is sort of for those on the geographical. That's where UAE is located. That's our master plan. If you go next, Joshua, for the sake of time. We have 8 different components. The airport is the heart of the project. We've got areas where we're residential. For folks who are watching the World Expo, that's where the Expo City is on the top right. And it will be the area where we're also going to host COP28 later on this year. And we've got the logistics and the aviation focused sectors within that. Now, when we did Easy Dubai, we didn't know that COVID was coming. This was launched literally is sort of September 2019. We put everything in place, everything was ready, and unfortunately, the world was hit with the COVID, and e-commerce was the solution, and we were ready. It's a dedicated zone. And I think I'm sharing a slide here that's about almost 1 million square meter. But I think the way things are growing, we need to upscale those numbers, and it's very much connected to sort of the port and the airport in the region. And with that, we will leave it up to you. We've got. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Let me just take a step back, Mohsen, because and this is interesting, also this slide, which talks about it. You're a free trade zone, accurate?
Sure, yes.
So I'm a US seller, I want to sell into the Middle East, particularly I want to place inventory, let's say in Dubai. And so how does this work exactly? You're a free trade zone. What's your suggestion on using your service?
Yeah, sure. I mean, on the free trade zone, the interesting thing about it, because it is a sort of a free trade zone, how the folks in the US call it, you're away from the taxes, you're away from sort of the regulation where you're holding your goods in this trade zone up until you execute it as a sort of point of sale. Now, the beauty about this is we've created part of the Easy Dubai, a very hybrid model where people storing things in the free trade zone, where they don't have to pay the customs duty and operate non-tax for any regional distribution, and only pay taxes and duty for things that they sell it into the local entity. And that's 100% ownership. We do that at one-stop shop. We are home to major players in the market. So Amazon, Noon, who are the sort of the two key players, are part of our community. And they've been there from the start. And we have many others, DHL, FedEx, and the rest are also part of that community.
Okay, great. And I remember when we sat down around the Dubai Expo time in Dubai, you were talking to one of our clients around really cool solutions that are really pushing the envelope in terms of efficiencies, birthed out of perhaps your relationship with Noon and Amazon. Could you quickly just talk about what are the core advantages and differentiators using your solution?
Yeah, I think one of the things we basically put ourselves into our clients' shoes. So we've gone and worked very closely with the authorities. We've developed a sort of recently we've launched our blockchain connection with the Dubai customs, because in e-commerce you got a huge transaction. So we're working very much on the trend of the digitalization, and that's working quite significant. And even we didn't miss out on if the big players are doing the sort of the blockchain, they can afford it. We've also created a solution for the smaller players who want to come to it through an API connection, where they can store the goods in the region, and we will help them to same benefit as the. Now, this started with the sort of DHL was the initiative of this, but slowly we developed this for many companies who are benefiting from that aspect of it. And the government put a full strategy on e-commerce and to basically make it more efficient and more accessible as a regional hub for the region.